Hey guys, it's Bailey. Welcome back to the channel and thanks so much for tuning in to what's going to be a review of the new BECCA Light Chaser highlighters and liquid crystal lip toppers. I recently mentioned these in a full face, like getting ready with me wear test sort of thing. I just used a couple of them though, and even though I gave kind of a brief mini review there, I wanted to go through the whole collection. They sent me all the shades within both the lip toppers and the highlighters. So I want to not only go through those, swatch them, show you how they transform over different shades, but also talk about some sneaky dupes you might find in the highlighter collection. So let's go ahead and dive in, starting with the highlighters. First, let's start off with the packaging. The Light Chaser highlighters come in these gorgeous kind of bronzy, chocolatey chrome exterior compared to the rubberized, like almost NARS-like matte packaging, but it's brown for BECCA, but then still comes with the brushed silver chrome center that has the branding on it. It's about the size, it's actually exactly the same size as a blush, right? It is identical in size, but you do get 0.5 grams more product in the Light Chaser highlighters than you do in a normal blush. And then also by comparison, here is one of the highlighters. You can see there's definitely like a normal permanent color. Oh, nope, that's not even a highlighter, but it is the same size. This is one of the cream bronzer that BECCA has. So you can see by comparison, it's a smaller pan and it is more expensive, a little bit more expensive by ounce. The Light Chaser highlighter retails for 34 bucks for 0.23 ounces, whereas a full-size highlighter retails for 38, but you get 0.28 ounces instead. So very slight difference. So the premise behind this line, and one of the many reasons why I was super excited to get it, is that it's duochrome. The idea is that these are duochrome powders that you can use on your face and eyes, either as eyeshadows worn alone, which I'm wearing today, I'll talk more about later, eyeshadow toppers to transform base shadows that you're wearing, blushes, blush toppers, blush transformers, or just a plain, or highlighters I should say, or just a plain blush, which I used in that full face wear test video. These are so multi-purpose, and if you know me, I love a good duochrome. I actually did a whole video on my favorite duochromes that I will, you tap the eye up there or the link in the description bar below, you can go watch that. So now let's move into the shades themselves. The first one that I'm holding up right here is called Pearl Flashes Gold, and it took me forever to get this, but I'm sure you're on top of it. The first shade is the base, so this is a pearly base, and then it says it flashes or shifts gold. Very straightforward, but it just took me forever to like put the two together in my head. I don't know. Now this, to start, is not a super crazy shade. It doesn't contain like colors that you wouldn't naturally find or wear on your face, like blues and greens like I'm going to talk about in some of the other shades. This I think you might find a dupe for in your collection just because it has that natural cream base with more of a gold shift. You're more likely to find it already in your collection. In fact, I did. This is the Makeup Forever Starlit Powder in the shade, what shade is this? Iridescent Pearl. The main difference between these two is that the Starlit Powder from Makeup Forever is way more high shine. There's a little bit more subtlety here to the BECCA. You can build it, you can use it wet if you spritz your face and then use a brush over, more of a damp surface. It's certainly going to emphasize and bring out that highlight and shift. But in general, with a loose pigment, it's a lot easier to intensify that. Up next is the shade Rose Quartz Flashes Seashell, and this has a light pink base that then flashes a more iridescent, not bright, but just a more noticeable pink shift to it. Again, pretty subdued, but more of a baby pink that you wouldn't necessarily apply as a highlight. This is another good one. You're kind of getting into the blush topper slash dual purpose blush and highlighter territory. But this is where I found a really affordable dupe, and it is in the NYX Duochromatic Illuminating Powder. This is in the shade Snow Rose. I mean, dupe really down to the very definition, but I will say that I have 3 of the NYX Duochromatic highlighters, and this was literally the only one that I could find a dupe for in this collection. Granted, I think there are more shades in the NYX collection, so I haven't tried all of them to know whether or not they dupe more shades within the BECCA collection, but I was pretty impressed to find that these are very, very similar. Up next is a shade I could not find a dupe for. It is Champagne Dream Flashes, it would help if I actually opened it, huh? Champagne Dream Flashes Bellini, and the base here is a goldeny yellow champagne that then shifts to a more pinky iridescent shade. At some angles, that peach base pulls a little bit more yellow, which some people might find doesn't necessarily complement maybe a cooler skin tone, but do keep in mind these can also be used on the eyes and just in general with lots of other combinations. If you use them as a blush topper, you might find that this is flattering even if you do have a cooler skin tone. Next up here is Opal Flashes Jade. This is a more complex shade and definitely something that at first glance you might think, where in the world would I wear this? It has a complex like mauve-y iridescent base. It's kind of odd that the base is iridescent and more of a mauve-y cooler purple, and then it shifts to, as you might guess, a greeny jade color. This is actually what I'm wearing on my eyes today. I do have it layered over the Naked Basics 2 that I've used in my crease just to create more of a transition, and then I used a mid-tone taupey matte shade on my outer corner just to add a little bit of depth there, but then I applied this over top. It is wet in the center, so you can really see that teal shift in intensity, and then I just applied some black eyeliner. This, however, I did find another dupe for, and it is in the Stroboscope powder in Dolly Sand. And again, a pretty close dupe. The major difference is that you get a ton of loose powder in this guy, so you can use it more so in, you know, makeup setting mist. You can really transform it into a lot of other things beyond just a powder, but for the most part, the shade is pretty identical. Two more shades here, neither of which I have dupes for. First up is Amethyst Flashes Geode. I think this is the one that I used in that full face getting ready with me, where I used this both as a blush and as a highlight, and I applied it starting at the apples of my cheeks and then working it on the way back. It looks like it's more of a blush shade here, but if you watch how I apply it in that video, it looks, when I'm facing the camera this way, the way the light hits it, it's just a very subtle bronze. You can see the bronzer that I'm wearing there more than anything, and then as I turn, the amethyst, or like the more blush tone in here, really pops, and it looks like I'm wearing a blush from some angles, a highlighter from others. This is a really beautiful complex shade that I feel like a lot of people might look at in the pan and think, oh, it's kind of purpley. Oh, you know, when I look at it on my hand and I see how it transitions, it doesn't seem like something that I'd want to wear on my face or my eyes, but trust me, I surprised myself when I applied this just as a blush and then was happy with it as it was. This was a surprise to me. And the last shade is Topaz Flashes Gilt. You can see this has kind of an ambery yellow undertone, a topaz undertone, and it flashes to almost an antique green and gold sort of shift. Again, one of those shades that you look at and you're like, why would I want a green on my cheeks? But remember, these can also be used as blush transformers or on the eyes as solely as eyeshadows or as eyeshadow transformers. So just consider the multiple uses as you look at this. I think it goes without saying, but this is a review, so it's worth saying that the formula across all of these is what you might expect from BECCA. Very smooth, very pigmented, creamy feeling. They blend out beautifully. There is no chalkiness or skipping or anything like that. They intensify, you know, when you mist it. Like, they can be used both wet and dry. I sprayed on my eyes today. I sprayed my eyeshadow brush and dipped it straight into that pan to really intensify the shades, and I didn't experience any like hard pan or anything like that. So they are really versatile products, and just in general are of the quality that you might expect from BECCA. Bottom line is, if any of these struck your fancy, I highly recommend you check them out, unless that is you found a dupe, like if you own a dupe that I mentioned, or if you're more interested in one of those dupes, go check those out as well, obviously. Just trying to give you your options. Moving on to the Liquid Crystal Lip Topper collection, same premise behind this, where it's that duochrome, and in fact, all of these, the shades for each of these line up with one of the, like the blush has a matching lip topper, is the best way to say that. And it's the same sort of idea where depending on your skin tone or what sort of lip color you have applied first under these, it's going to shift and look entirely different. These are really gorgeous lip shades. First up is Pearl Flashes Gold. Looks like a pretty standard frosted lip gloss over lighter bases, where it's kind of a clear lip base and then just has some subtle frosting. Then when worn over a deeper base, those frosty white and slightly golden flecks are going to shift and come out a lot more. Then there's Rose Quartz that has a kind of a light pink base with a more intense gold shift. Moving on to Champagne Dream Flashes Bellini. This has a softer pink base that really moves into that intense amber golden shift. Next up is Amethyst Flashes Geode. This has a soft lavender base that then shifts into not only a more intense amethyst hue, but it also has a blue in there too. Then there's Opal Flashes Jade. This again has the soft, like barely there mauve base that then shifts into a blue-green teal. And this is actually what I'm wearing on my lips right now. So if that sounded intimidating, it's not. It really just looks like a subtle but interesting gloss. And last up is Topaz Flashes Gilt. And this I feel is the least like the blush shade of all of the liquid lip toppers. It has more of an intense deep mauvey purple base with a more noticeable blue shift to it. So this to me is one of the more extreme shades here that might be more intimidating for people who just aren't quite sure how, when, and where to do the duochrome on their lips. So those are all the shades. The formula here is pretty standard in terms of thickness and consistency with a lot of lip glosses. It is non-sticky though. I mean, in terms of like your lips kind of gooping together and feeling like you have the lip gloss strings up between your lips. Don't notice any of that, but it is a lip gloss, so you will notice like your hair getting caught in it. There's no getting around that. Wear time is also pretty standard for a lip gloss. I noticed that if I'm not doing intense eating and drinking, it can be there for, you know, 2 to 3 hours, but they're super easy to reapply. What I do notice, however, is that all of the little shimmery bits in there definitely stay on your lips. You will notice that as you apply, if you either choose to remove or as it wears down throughout the day, you'll just notice that you still have those shimmery shifts still on your lips, and it gets worse if your lips are dry just because there's more places for all of that to get caught in. Not a big deal, but I just think it makes it more intense as you go to reapply the gloss over top throughout the day. And those are my thoughts on this collection. I really hope this video was helpful if you were contemplating any of the shades here, either in the blushes or in the lip collection. Hope it helped. Let me know if there were anything I didn't answer. Let me know in the comments below and I'll try and get to it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys.